Hey guys, what's up everyone? This is the Shank, and this is my first video back in a long time, and I'm happy to say I'm finally out of the basement in the cage that the Ryan 22 put me in. Basically, if you guys watch the gameplay of the commentary he did, he's my cousin. I don't know if he explained that to you or not, but anyway, he locked me up in a cage in my basement, and he took my external hard drive, and he just used some of my gameplay, and I guess he thought he'd upload a video that he thought he was funny or cool or something. But I don't know what he was thinking. Anyway, I'm finally out of there. Hopefully we don't see him again. I don't know. I don't really like him, to be honest. He's like my least favorite cousin. We were doing the holidays and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm back with you guys uploading some more videos. This is some 50-1 gameplay by A535 Sleeper, who is someone of my friends on PSN. He told me to upload this game. It's a 51-1. But kind of what I want to talk about in this video is the whole idea of like paranormal and ghost kind of stuff, like ghost stories and things like that. I don't know why, I'm kind of on a little bit of a ghost high right now. I'm just a ghost high. That doesn't really make sense, but just recently I've been really thinking about the whole like being afterlife or not, if it's true, if it's not true. And right now I'm really leaning towards true. I actually just heard this story the other night that I'm going to share with you guys. I think it's a pretty cool story. I was over at my friend's house. A bunch of us were like hanging out or whatever. I think there was maybe like five or six of us there. I'm not really sure. A few girls, a few guys, and I was actually at a girl's house, and her dad actually came out, and apparently he had this really scary ghost story that he wanted to tell us. And basically what he said was, when he tells the story, he can't sleep at night because the ghost story isn't one that was made up. It isn't one that was written in a book. It was actually a ghost story that he was a part of, and it's something that happened to him when he was a senior in high school. And when he said that, I was kind of scared because I was like, I've heard my fair share of ghost stories in the past, but never one that actually came from the source of the person who was haunted. So I'm going to share the story with you guys, and hopefully I'll be able to give it some justice. Of course, I wasn't there, so I don't remember all the facts exactly of what happened, but I'll try to tell it the best I can. Alright, so the story starts off in a small town in southern New Jersey, and southern New Jersey isn't like that no one lives there, but it's a lot less densely populated than northern New Jersey, which is one of the most populated areas in the whole United States. But it was like a small town. I don't remember the exact name of the town, but I'm going to change the names of the people around. So the girl's dad who's telling the story, we'll just call him Scott, just so you have a name to remember. But anyway, Scott grew up in this small town. He lived in an older house. A lot of the houses in the town were kind of older, but the house that was right next to him was the oldest house in the town. It was a really old Victorian, like 4 stories tall, and he was friends with the kid that lived in there when he was younger, when they were in like 1st, 2nd grade, and he used to like hang out with the kid or whatnot. But then those people moved out, and then his best friend, who he was already best friends with, moved into the house right next to him, which he thought was awesome. So all throughout like elementary school, middle school, all the way up through high school, they were always hanging out, those 2 kids. His friend's name, we'll say his friend was Brian. So Scott and Brian were always hanging out a lot, and he used to like always just go over his house. You could just walk in the back door, take a couple cookies out of the cookie jar, and that was that. And they used to always have sleepovers. And he said at a young age, when he used to sleep over there, he didn't know what it was, but for some reason he never felt comfortable when he was sleeping there. He always felt like there was some type of presence or something like that over there. He's not saying that he ever specifically saw any paranormal activity. It was just that he just didn't quite feel comfortable when he had the sleepovers there. And the one area of the house where Scott felt the most uncomfortable was the attic. The 2 boys would used to always play ping pong up in there. They'd have a ping pong table set up in there. And for some reason, even in the hot days of summer, the attic would always be extremely cold. You'd feel a chill when you went up into the attic. So now the story flash forwards a number of years, and Scott and Brian are seniors in high school, and it's homecoming weekend. And of course there's the big homecoming football game, there's the homecoming dance, which is a pretty big deal, and that's all coming up, and it's the night of the homecoming dance, and neither of Brian's parents are home, and the only person who's left in charge of Brian and Scott is Brian's older brother, and we'll just say his name was Adam. And Adam was going to Drexel University at the time, and basically Scott and Brian were like, yo, we're going to throw a party at the house. The parents aren't home, of course. That's what I guess most kids would do in that situation. So after the homecoming dance or whatever, Adam went out with a bunch of his friends. They went out, I guess, drinking or partying or something like that. So Scott and Brian basically have the whole house to themselves. They invite everyone over. They have a huge party, and everyone's just having a good time. And then it starts to get a little bit later, around 11:30 p.m. And some of the kids were fumbling around. They were looking through closets and stuff. I think they were looking for a board game or something like that. And anyway, they end up going up into the attic where they find a Ouija board. And I'm sure most of you know what a Ouija board is. It's a game where you can play to move the letters around anyway. And it's supposed to be able to contact some type of spirits with it or something. And yeah, Brian and Scott stay out of this. They're just downstairs chilling while most of the party that's still left is up there. A lot of people had already went home, but most of the people who were still left from the party all went up to play with the Ouija board. And then around 15 minutes later, they all ran downstairs screaming and basically left the house. Well, they didn't leave the house right away, but they all came down screaming, and they said that it was moving by itself. So that's pretty creepy. Probably something of a ghost, they thought. So a little bit after that, around 12:30, all the guests were out of the house. Everyone was like working on cleaning up, Brian and Scott, that is. And they just didn't really think anything of the Ouija board. They just left it open upstairs in the attic. So they finished cleaning up, and they were just kind of chilling at the table. And Brian's older brother Adam finally came home from his night of partying. He was a little bit buzzed, probably. He's a little bit out of it. And one thing about Adam that Scott had known for a long time is that every night he sleptwalk at 2:23 a.m. He did the same routine. He would just usually walk downstairs, walk into the bathroom, and then walk back up to his room and go to sleep. It was just some routine that sleepwalkers have. They usually do the same thing over and over and over again, and there's no explanation for why it is at that specific time, but that's what he did. So anyway, it was around 1:30 at this time, and they all decided that they were going to go to bed, because it was pretty late. They had to get up the next morning at a reasonable time, I assume. So anyway, for some reason, Scott didn't want to go to bed in the house that night. He didn't know why. He just thought he should go home. And Brian convinced him. He'd just be like, "Oh yeah, dude, just crash here. It'll be cool. We'll hang out in the morning. It'll be fun. Just stay here. You don't have to go home. It'll be a great time." So Scott's like, "All right, I guess I'll stay here. Seems to be all right." But for some reason, he just had a really weird feeling when he went to bed that night. So Scott and Brian go to sleep. They have actually the room they were staying in there's beds right next to each other. There's one bed on the right, one bed on the left, and Scott was in the bed on the right, Brian slept in the bed on the left, and then Adam went up to his room, which was down the hallway. So they go to bed, and Scott can't go to sleep. He just can't go to sleep. He doesn't know why he can't. He looks at the clock. It keeps ticking. 15 minutes go by. Another 15 minutes go by. It's now 2 a.m., and he starts to feel a cold chill in the room, and he doesn't know what it is. He wants to get up. He wants to just walk out of the house and go home, but he can't. He feels like he's paralyzed and he can't move whatsoever. The clock keeps ticking, the clock keeps ticking. It gets closer and closer to 2:23, which is when the time that Adam sleepwalks. It keeps ticking. 2:20, 2:21, 2:23 comes. He hears Adam get out of his bed, like he usually does, and he's just praying to himself, "Just do your regular routine. I don't want any trouble. Don't do anything like that." Because he's already freaking out at the time, and Scott wasn't one to scare easily, so he obviously was pretty freaked. And anyway, he hears Adam. He walks out of his room, boom, 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 and he's like, "All right, just go down to the bathroom, do what you usually do the regular routine." But that doesn't happen. He hears Adam right outside of the door of his room that Brian and Scott are saying him. He hears him right outside the door. He opens the door, walks over to the side of his brother's bed, Brian's bed, and he just stares at him. He doesn't do anything except stare at him. Then he tries to talk to Adam. He tries to saying, "Adam, wake up. Adam, what are you doing? Wake up, Adam." And he thinks he's saying that, and he thinks he's not hearing it, but then he realizes nothing is coming out of his mouth. He can't speak. Nothing, no words are being able to come out of his mouth. I don't know if this is because he was just so scared, or maybe like he was being silenced by some type of spirit or something like that. I'm not sure, but he just couldn't talk. And then he sees Adam do the craziest thing you could ever imagine. Adam goes over to his brother's bed, gets on top of him, and he grabs his brother Brian's neck and he starts strangling him. And then out of nowhere, Brian wakes up and he starts screaming. He's like, "What the hell? What the hell? What's going on? What's going on?" And he's just freaking out. And then his brother, Adam, just walks out of the room and goes up into the attic. And the two boys, Brian and Scott, they're just so confused right now. They don't know what's going on. And Scott says to Brian, "Why was your brother strangling you?" And then Brian says, "That wasn't my brother. That was an old man." And at this point, both of the boys are extremely freaked out. And they just go down and sit in the kitchen for a little bit because they don't know what to do. And then about 30 minutes later, they hear Adam come back down from the attic and go back to sleep in his room. And right now, they are murking it out of there. They decide to go over to Scott's house and stay the rest of the night there, which was a good decision. Maybe they should have done that from the start. But the next day, Scott tells his parents about the incident, and Scott's parents tell him a story. They say, "Son, this is a story we have to tell you. We never told you about what happened in that house a long time ago." And apparently, during World War I times, there were two brothers that lived in that house, an older one and a younger one. And the older one was married to a woman, and he had to go off to World War I to go fight. And then during the time when he was away, the woman had an affair with the younger brother. And anyway, the older brother caught the younger brother, I guess you could say, in the act in that house, and it was just too much for him to bear. So he strangled his brother to death, and then he stabbed the girl, killed her, and then he hung himself up in the attic. So basically, my interpretation of the story was, I don't know, I think it's pretty obvious of what happened. It was the older brother who hung himself in the attic. That's why it was always cold up there, because his spirit was always up there. And basically what happened was the older brother possessed Adam, and he strangled Adam's younger brother, Brian, and basically reenacted the scenario, I guess, since the fact there was an older brother and a younger brother. And this story really freaked me out because it was the first actual ghost story I heard that's from like a first-hand account, because it's actually him that was in the story, and that really scared me. And he said even when he tells the story that it scares him. And you guys can take from this story what you want. I am 100% sure it's true, because I don't see any reason why he'd lie to us or think of such an elaborate story that he was a part of. So, of course, it's not the same credibility coming from a second-hand source like me, but I guarantee you guys that story is 100% true. And I don't know, I think I'm a believer in the supernatural right now. I'm up in my room all by myself right now. I'm actually kind of scared thinking about it. I had some trouble sleeping after hearing that story, I'm not gonna lie. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you would like to hear some more like ghost encounter kind of things with me or my life, because I've actually had a couple things happen to me, and I'm running out of length in this commentary to talk about them. But if you'd like to hear about some of the encounters or alleged encounters that I've had in my life, then I'll definitely put it down in the comments if you'd like to see that in a future video. And I'd like to hear your guys' opinion. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you not believe in ghosts? Or are you scared of them? Do you think they can hurt you? Kind of just your general opinion on ghosts. Maybe we can get a little chat started down in the comments. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you'd like this story. If you like this story kind of format thing. Maybe if you want to hear some more stories in the future about different things. I don't usually do these longer videos, but again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, YouTube.